I sometimes forget to press it. You want more? That's where I like those better. Just press it, the screen is on. You almost have to double take it. Cookies, they're fresh.
Oh,
'Cause
cookies.
I made them this
Okay.
morning from Kroger's.
You work for Kroger. You stay busy and
It
you're
pays
tired.
better. It pays a lot better. But they're union, it does pay better. No, $100 a paycheck goes into the union.
Yeah.
For when they strike. We did have the coroner last night. Or Monday. I'm guessing that Kathy may be on vacation. He's not responding to anything.
We might be on vacation.
Kathy, defender, public defender. She's the only main one we haven't heard from. You don't have your lot. We're waiting on another council member, so we have a quorum.
Have you had any? You don't have to have this one.
I know. I really like to see one body.
We were estimated until the 20th, but all three.
We'll start as soon as we get one more person. Kyle and or Betsy should be here.
I think maybe we should start. We don't have to have the forum and if.
They're here?
30 minutes. Assessor, recorder, treasurer, surveyor. We're still on Jody.
You don't know?
Or no. Wait, one of
Mm.
Here, knock some sense into me. Depends on who you ask. Depends if you read the paper or online.
Yeah, I know it.
I didn't see it.
Yeah. Oh, I heard it. Oh, is it? Well, yeah, so let me know. Yeah. Yep.
Guys are
Yep, let's let me know.
we're gonna call the public hearing for our budget hearings to order on this day, which I think is the last day of July, July 31st, 2024. We have two other council members that'll stroll in because our start time was actually 8:45, but we have four departments in a half hour. So we're going to start since you're here.
Okay.
You can be on with your business. So we're going to start with Steve and the surveyor, and that number is what, folks?
Okay.
Oh, 006 and 1202 and 4919. We're going to start on 006, page 6. So whenever you're ready.
Okay. I'd like to say we've had a good year. Everybody's kept their budgets in the black. I think out of 12 years, we've kept our budgets in the black every time. So I think that's a good track record to begin with. We're still running in the black this year, watching our spending. We did, as we all know, with interest rates going, or the interest up like it is, we're need to adjust some things, especially on Angie's side. We'll talk about that as we go down through it, but I think I'll let Ruth start with the explaining what we did with the budgets and the way we raised some of the things. I know some of our schooling stuff has went up. The fees are starting to go up a little bit, so we've adjusted for that. I think the main thing I'd like to start with is the biggest need we need out of this year is a copier. So when we get to that, I'll discuss what our copiers no longer being serviced at all, no parts. So we're running on thin ice with it if it goes down. So that's run between four departments. My department, GIS, Planning Commission, and the building inspector. So we run the tar out of that copier. So
It's under office equipment later on.
yes.
Okay. that
So,
explains that.
we'll start down the list of what besides wages, that's wages are wages, unless somebody's got questions on that. We did put the 4%. I think, talked to you, Kenan,
Right.
like you asked to be done. So we'll start down with office, the supplies. Ruth, I'll let you go in there and tell what we was and what we're going to, or what it was deducted.
We had just asked, we had 1,200 last year. We asked for 1,800 this year, just the cost of things going up. The other thing we raised was repairs and maintenance for, the vehicle. And we raised it, let me look real quick. They appropriated, was it 3,500 for last year? We, put it at, we didn't raise it. We put it at 3,000 and wanted to take the 500 from that and put over on travel and training because we had 1,000 last year. And just asked to move that 500 over there. The other thing that
So
was.
one thing, with that, since we're on that, with the vehicle, I will ask that we don't deduct any. I've got a car right now that the transmission's doing a little blurb. I don't know if it's gonna be major, minor, or whatever, but I gotta get it in for transmission to look at. And the, next year, I'll need tires. So that's one of the reasons why we shifted to 500, but that 3,000 is gonna be very important because I don't know what's gonna happen with that thing. Because I
Okay.
take that thing out in the field. People don't realize that car goes across fields, and gets beat to death. That's all I got to drive. So that's another thing I want to talk about at the end of this.
How come they didn't give you a
Next year.
Range Rover or
Well,
something?
that would be great. Since you're on that subject, I would eventually say
No,
that
I
I,
didn't say that. I was just. a
Well,
thought
that's-
bubble.
I mean, that's-
Talk.
we'll talk about it, but I
No,
am going to ask
move-
myself about
Move
that.
on.
So,
Me and my big mouth.
yeah, no, it would be, other counties using, but I would utilize one better than anybody in the county because my stuff's off-road. Anything I go look at.
Okay.
So I'm taking a regular vehicle that's on the road and I'm driving it off the road in mud and hills, ditches. I mean, it gets beat.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she's been with me, so.
Okay,
she-
let's move on.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
okay.
Three other
that's all.
departments.
We've talked about that over the years, but you know.
All right, go ahead.
You want me to do my GIS part of
Yeah,
it?
since it's up here.
So for the GIS office supplies, I kept my plotter ink head the same cost as last year. My plotter paper, sorry, my plotter
good.
paper did go up a little bit, so I put like a $200 increase from last year. I have $500 for office supplies, and that just covers anything else I need for the entire year. The copier, I use the same copier, and Steve, I just use the paper that they buy, so I don't have anything for copier. So that's my 2,200 for office supplies.
Is there a reason that GDI allocation, can you explain that? Why that's in your budget? The GDI allocation is in your budget. It's $10,000. Should that be in the assessors or?
We don't,
That was.
yeah, that's,
We just put it in there again to ask for.
yeah, just ask
They
for it.
took it out, when they gave raises, the 1 year to help with the raises, and we just put it.
That's the EDI that we asked for, that it stays in there for using it like a bank account and it goes back because we pay it back, so it's 100% payback.
Okay.
Never goes anywhere.
General fund.
Yeah.
We may be discussing that again. Your budget overall has gone up nearly 15%. And so that may be something they'll have to cut back.
Yeah.
That's probably why.
Everything else,
Well, small as my budget is, and Debbie can interfere. You take the wages out, we have a small budget
you do.
for what we do for the county with everything. So the 10,000 is just something that we came up with the first few years to accommodate more money for us to utilize, because everybody doesn't understand how that works. I call it a bank account, and it does help our GDI fund, but it stays in the general fund
Right.
unless we utilize it, but it's 100% payback. You never lose it. So
Okay.
that's why we asked for that.
I'm just saying that may, if something goes.
Oh, yeah.
That may be the first.
Well, yeah, that's what we've cut the last 2 or 3 years out of it.
Your main increase is the office equipment. That's a copier, and you said yours is failing.
Yeah, it's failing, and we've got a cost on one is 5,450.
That's what you put in.
So we're willing to, and I talked to Tom, and I think with what we utilize it for, I can probably come up with a third of it. So all we're asking for is a third. If I get Tom to get a third of it, I get a third, you guys put in a third, then we can cover it.
Okay,
How much is it?
That's the total cost.
That's a total cost.
close,
Yes, yes.
okay.
I don't know. We don't explain that on here because there's not
Yeah.
a way to do
Well, then
it.
when we talk to Tom,
So if
we need
you,
to bring that up.
yeah,
He
he'll
know-
bring
he
it up.
knows about it.
Yep, and she utilizes it through us, so it's very heavily used.
So what's 1/3 of that? Well, Chad would do it in his head, but 1/3 of 5450.
I'm almost done.
Okay, see who,
18, 17.
18, 17. That was a good year. Anything else?
You have any other questions?
Yeah, any other questions, anything? I just think that what we've kept our budget either even or less, last 3 or 4 years. Trying to get hers up to where she can function the way a GIS should function, and she does very well watching how she spends and stuff and others. So, that's with what stuff we're getting into with a new plotter and that maintenance is, and the, couple things on the GIS or the GPS instrument. That was paid through the highway, but we're taking responsibility of it now, fully. So you just don't know what's gonna go up or these fees, it's with everything.
Well,
So,
everything is going up.
yes.
GIS water maintenance, I guess these expenses here, are they new or are they ones that we had put into
Yeah.
Are those expenses that are, I know some of them are new, but are any of those ones that we had taken out and put in your water maintenance that had to come back out?
No, the plotter maintenance for me is a brand new plan
that's
through
brand
Eastern
new.
Engineering.
Those are brand new.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's just because the plotter is like $14,000 at this point to replace, and it's 3 years old. So I thought if I got a plotter maintenance plan, they'll come out and they'll clean it, they'll service it. Parts and service are free. So that's what that is.
I think we pretty much have a maintenance plan, and Debbie, you pay it, so we pretty much have maintenance plans on almost every copier in here almost, I think, like your regular copier. Yeah. I think that's what really actually, they come out and clean it, and it's actually cheaper to have them have the maintenance on it because they furnish all the ink. And they only charge us for
Hmm.
copies, so that's why that's for the yeah, for the copier, but not for that. And the expense that is, if it goes down for lack of maintenance, it's gonna be cheaper to pay the $695 a year.
Okay. And the computer software, did I miss what that was for?
So the software and satellite subscription, so that's for our GPS unit. And that's something that Joe had covered previously. I've kind of taken over the GPS and I do almost all of the GPS for the different departments in the county now. So I'm taking on the subscription for the software. It's called Magnet. It's $1,500 a year. So it's gonna just it's basically gonna get moved over from what Joe paid and now I'm gonna pay it.
Okay, so the GPS is for.
Yeah, it's for the
For
GP.
your department, the GIS.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Other questions, council?
I do have one thing, make it quick. Next year, I will be coming back to ask for a ATV. Just want you to know,
What fee?
next year,
What was the fee? I didn't.
ATV for the going out in the
It's a
field.
little better than,
Yeah.
a Range Rover.
Yeah, oh yeah, a lot better. Yeah, well, yeah, that's a little bit more. But I would ask that we entertain that because it is beating the car to death. It's a lot cheaper to have one of those to unload, go across a muddy field or get across a terrain and then come back.
Or hook the GPS too, and so we can
Okay.
drive.
Yeah,
points
and drive and
around.
get points. Yeah, you'd have to have a little trailer for, yeah, you'd pull it with the car and just park it on the road. So,
So we need to make any changes or for the auditor to make changes in the budget. Did we cut the 5450 to 1817?
Yes,
And
that's my suggestion.
are we leaving the $10,000 in?
Shannon,
GDI?
do you remember the GDI?
I would say,
No.
I would say no, but
he wasn't in here, what you
He
guys had already
wasn't.
started cutting it.
I
before
get
he got
the
it.
gist of it.
The only, the history of it is just that we removed it because we were giving raises, so it may be fair to rediscuss it. So were there projects you weren't able to, are there?
No, it
projects you're
just
not
makes it
able to
easier that
do?
I don't have to stop one and I can borrow from that and then I pay it back. Yeah, it's easier to do that. So, and I'll give you a little heads up. In years past, and I brought this up, which is a different category. We're looking at Carmel and Greenfield. Carmel's got 16 million in its GDI and they've got about 2 million over at Greenfield. So, but they've had the county council adding to that. But it stays in that general fund till I use it, but it comes right back. It's a no-brainer of paying self back. So that's the reason
Since
why.
they're 15% over.
What's
how
your
about-
balance now? You told us what Carmel was and others. What's your?
Yeah, I don't know for sure. I'd have to look, but I don't know what I got in there now. I think it's over 100,000 probably because I've added our interest from getting interest and stuff into it. So I've tried to build it myself. That's where you start building it too. That's where they got so high on theirs.
What do you two council members think about starting like a $5,000 in there? Make it easy to, we got to catch something or we're not
Yeah.
doing our job.
Right.
Is that okay? Put 5,000? Susan?
I'm okay with it.
I'm fine with it. I'm also okay with the 10,000, so I don't.
It was, how many years did we have it in the budget? We specifically took it out 2 years ago. Yeah. Right.
I think that's right.
It,
My philosophy.
yeah. It is something we could consider leaving in for a few years while we can. I mean, right now we can, so.
It stays in the general fund. just
Right.
like you- and that's just periodically. So
Okay.
it's a no-brainer.
Well, my vote's for 5,000, but sounds like I'm being outvoted, so. Anything else?
The GIS software, I just want to confirm, it's still going to be paid out of the commissioners for the GIS software, the Esri that the whole county uses. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, three. Appreciate it very much.
You should shift over, yeah, because we are expecting, where'd Betsy go? You
Betsy,
can, you should join us.
you okay up there? Okay.
If you're good there, yeah, okay, all right. Did we call the 5,000 or 10,000 so I can write Gary away? I just.
Well, we got money now, so why don't we just?
Put this over in case you, so you can have it too.
I think that's where it's going. They're on page 3. That's different philosophy.
Harold's not well. I mean, he's got a virus, I think. Yeah, and Mike's not off work, so
So why don't we make it $5,000? That's fine.
5,000. Okay,
It's
thank you.
5,000.
We're gonna put 5,000 at the
10,005.
GDI.
Thank you. Okay. Numerically, 3 is higher than 4, so your budget 3 and ours, so you want to go? Treasurer?
All right, I'm good.
We always go ladies first. We're gonna alphabetically start with Z this year.
Let's start with the rose between
Teachers
the two
always
thorns.
start alphabetically.
You are a thorn, let me tell you.
Page 5, you have a technology fund.
Do what?
I said, we're on page 3, and then you also have a technology fund, so the floor is yours. You did put 3% in for budgets, raises instead of 4, but there's no problem.
We'll take more.
All right, you put
Are you
3,
sure?
so you're the only department getting 3 of the, on the floor.
So the only new expense that looked like it wasn't just inflation was the lockbox fees, but we had done that before, hadn't we? Had we done the
Yes, I mean, and that's for the machine.
It doesn't ship, but we did do that last year, did we not?
Yeah.
So where did we pay that from? Because I don't see it here.
I don't know if it come out of my technology. I don't remember. That's last year.
You slept since then.
Uh,
Made a lot of wood products since then.
I have done that.
A lot of Little League since then.
And I'd say the only, or the biggest increase I've got this year is probably postage. Cause that's going up and we're paying more for terrible service.
Yeah. I hope the postmaster for the United States is listening. Price is going up and service is getting ridiculous.
Oh, it's
We
awful.
we know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible.
Harris
Yes,
postmaster.
my personal bank account agrees with you. So, yeah, my only question on your budget was just, did we pay for the lockbox fees somewhere else last year? You know, Debbie? Okay.
Do what, Debbie? Who do we pay? It's through that, F&E Payment Pros, where it's for our new machine, since we don't use a lockbox anymore. We're
What's the vendor?
the individual person's name? F&E Payment Pro. Yeah, F&E Payment Pro, that's, since we're done away with lockbox and we do 100% of all our mail processing in our office now, we have that machine that processes everything. So if there's ever any issues or problems with checks or payments, we can take care of it right there.
You didn't say that last year because you just left.
Yeah, that's correct.
He didn't have that.
We didn't have it last year because we just purchased the machine last year and that
Okay.
starts this year for those yearly fees.
Thank you.
Well, since you only asked for 3% raise, we should approve this because that'll pay for the lockbox.
There you go.
Only that's not how we're doing the.
I do a lot of tongue in cheek laugh to keep from crying. I think I did that.
I know, and
Reader's
that's,
Digest, laughter is the best policy, or
amen. Need more of it.
I'll tell you when I'm serious. or not. I'm not serious about Range Rovers and I'm not serious about your raises. So you don't leave here questions. Anything else? Welcome, Betsy. Good to see you. No, I think everything else you went up in the postage, which everybody.
Yeah, we
probably
can't
does
help
on
that.
postage. It's getting ridiculous. It really is.
I just wish the service was half of what it used to be 10 years ago.
Oh, well, I'm old enough. I remember a 5-cent stamp and service was like, you send something and almost anybody in Indiana got it the next day. Now you're lucky if you get it.
Like I say, I've told this story before, but August of last year, we had a big stack of tax statements that had been mailed out, returned from 2018. Only took 5 years to get it back.
Okay.
Wow.
You also have a technology fund, which is what, 4,900?
Yep. And that's utilized for part-time help if needed. We used, I know Cindy Crandall and Linda Rutherford come back, just help process mail because they were bringing in just big flats and trays of mail. And they were opening mail, getting it ready to skip through our machines while we were taking taxes out front. I think they only worked about maybe 5 weeks and they didn't work every day.
That's the
If we're
technology.
slow, they didn't come in, but if we
It's
had
listed for
something,
miscellaneous supplies, but you're actually using it for part-time?
yep.
Okay. Do we need to clean that up? What it's used for? He put it down for. He's got it listed under his 4,900 technology fund as miscellaneous supplies, but he says he's using it actually for part-time.
We'll have to change that to, we'll have to add.
We did, but we've never really used it because I've never had any part-time people until this year when we brought them in. We got busy in the spring. There was some in for extra help, but I didn't put that in this year. Yep. Yep.
So yeah, we'll just have to change that to 1,000. Change it to.
So
Are your balances in that technology fund, is that appropriate to just use part-time from? Do you have enough you could use something, pay something else from?
Not right now. I mean, I know before, because it's been there. I don't even know who started it. It was there before. But like if we have a printer go down, we'll just buy a printer and use it out of stuff like that. And actually, we got like 1 or 2 on the fritz right now, so that may be happening sooner than later.
Anything else for Mr. Upchurch,
From me.
Mr. Bill?
Who's next?
Well, if we go if we go numerically, it would be the recorder, Fund 4. No offense, Jody. None taken.
Yeah.
Yeah, yours is mainly in your,
I'm like, well, anyway, I'm just.
yeah, most of yours is not on page 4 or Fund 4. Go ahead, Lisa.
So the only thing on yours really is the.
The
addition
only
of
thing on mine is
employees.
employment, and I have asked to turn one of my part-time employees into a full-time employee. It's hard to run an office with 3 full-time employees when we're busy. If anybody gets sick, needs a vacation, we're in trouble. So it's been challenging the last month. We've had deaths in our office, we've had sickness, we've had vacations, and we've struggled. My part-time people have both worked full-time the last month covering.
And is one of those the person you want to?
Yes, Mike Finker has been here 4 years. He said he will take the full-time position. Currently, he has insurance through his wife. If there's a spousal cutout and he has to take county insurance, he will, but unless that happens, he won't even take the insurance option at this point, so.
So you said he is current, I'm sorry, you go ahead. I didn't mean to talk over you. You might not be very smart this morning. When he worked full-time, did you have funds to pay that? And where did you?
He
get that
didn't
from?
work full-time for the county. He was a science teacher before.
You said
he's-
sorry, your part-time people worked full-time.
He's just been working full-time the last hours, the last month to help keep the office open.
Where are your part-time people paid out of now?
I pay them out of my perpetuation fund.
Why don't I have the perpetuation fund? We don't do it.
Because you don't pay them, I do.
Okay. We see most perpetuation funds here. Okay.
Do we know what the, sorry, just out of curiosity, what's the balance of the perpetuation fund?
I don't know the exact balance of the perpetuation fund. Do you, Debbie?
We need to add, if we go any further, we need to add $1,000 because you and Mandy both get one.
Oh, okay. So we need to add longevity to Mandy and I both next year.
So there's a question of if if we approve this salary ordinance and then where it gets paid from, can she pay it from her perpetuation fund? Can you pay a full-time salary from your perpetuation fund?
I mean, I can,
I didn't meant legally, can you? You're saying legally you can.
I can.
Do you know what she gets yearly?
It fluctuates. So it based on my income. So I did a report. Last year, my office generated. So Debbie might know the answers to some of these better than I do. Last year, to the County ID Protection Fund, my office generated $7,080. To the Elected Officials Training Fund, my office generated $7,080. To the general fund, my office generated $94,242. To the mortgage fee for the state, I generated $3,677. To the perpetuation fund last year, we generated $126,769. And to the surveyor's fund, I generated $35,395. So that's all the money that my office generated last year to the county, a total of $274,174.55.
So Lisa, I think the big question is, can that be paid? Can moving someone part-time to full-time be paid out of perpetuation?
It can be paid out of perpetuation, but they're a county employee, so I would rather not if I don't have to.
I will say, we got this last week. The AIC compares us to every other county in the state. Recorder's budget in DeKalb County is twice what yours is. They're a smaller population. Du Bois County is about 60,000 more than you. They're at $42,000 population. Lawrence County's higher than you. Marshall County's 160, so they're.
And most of those counties have more, I have the fewer employees than most every county has for the recorder's office. We do a lot of work down there. I know most people don't really think that we do a lot, but we process a lot of documents that are important to the operation of the county. And it takes time and it takes a lot of people. And we're about to upload all of the back scanned documents from 1990 back to the beginning of the county. And we'll be back indexing those. It's gonna take a lot of time. And I could really do 2 full, part-time employees just for the back indexing, not even counting the daily work and the stuff that's coming in every day.
My preference would be, you need the extra person, I agree. You're taking a bigger load and getting far less budget than other counties that's even smaller than ours. My preference would be you take it out of the perpetuation fund because it's a very healthy. That's just me. I'm one person.
I certainly agree. And as long as Lisa doesn't have major plans for that, that would be disrupted, I think that makes sense.
My preference would be to leave it in the general.
It's already paid for. I already paid for all the scanning out of perpetuation fund and didn't ask for the county for any of that. I did, and I paid for that out of perpetuation fund.
What expenses you have coming out?
It's all, Linda paid for the scanning already when she
Right.
did it. It's just now getting loaded onto the new server that I just paid for.
That was a project 4 years in the making.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a step-by-step process. And so in the next week or two, all those images that Linda had scanned will be loaded onto our software and we'll be able to go in and start back indexing them. And then they'll be available to the public to search at home online. And we'll be totally online. And we can, at that point, then, once everything is online and back indexed, we can, the vault is where all of our original records are. We don't even have to let people have access to those anymore after that. We can start preserving those historical documents because people won't need to go in and physically touch them and search them anymore because everything will be online at that point.
Hey, sir, I did, in a surveyors association meeting, they did discuss you need to take every one of your production, take it away from there and give it a total. Because it's gonna get harder for me to get money because things have started slowing down. They noticed this. So that's gonna slow your money down. It's because people ain't gonna be reporting stuff as much, we hope they don't, but they're looking in the future of that. Because we're doing a lot of section 101, which I go through my section 101, which you give me 35,000. That goes toward that section fund, but they're saying you need to back up and watch what you contract out because you may not get it. That's the estimate. You don't know what's going to come in that account.
And you have to remember, the housing market's slowing down. As the housing market
Right.
slows down, she's not going to generate as much money in her perpetuation fund because that's where all that comes, the majority of it
Right.
comes from.
It all comes from that.
How much did you say you had in there currently?
You
242,000. I still say pay it out of this if it's that important to her, and we look at it next year. We can always move it over.
Right.
We really don't know what any of these funds are gonna be. We don't know for sure the lit that we've passed. We don't know a lot of these things, but if it really comes down to you're seeing a rapid decrease because of that, I think we would all be open to bringing that back into the general fund if we see what our funds are.
Absolutely. I mean, that just makes sense. Like, if it changes in the future, we move it over to the general, but for now, she's got a healthy balance. Even if the housing market, I know it is slowing down, but there's still going to be funds there.
I
And again,
think you're understaffed.
In our discussion with prosecutor's office last week, he was trying to pull dollars out of different funds here and there to give raises and change people's salaries. He didn't discuss putting a full position in another fund. But how many departments do we have that have other funds that they could pay for personnel out of? And just because they could doesn't mean they should.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like we are,
to me, it feels a little unfair that I have to pay my own employee and other offices don't have to pay for their employees.
You know, your stuff, supplies, everything.
I pay for every ink pen and piece of paper in my office.
Understood.
Out of that fund.
I think in that regard, your perpetuation fund's probably the envy of Henry County departments.
And Lisa, I understand completely where you're coming from. I think our mindset is generally, we're
I
just.
mean, I
tr-
get that the county is low on funds. I understand
it's
that
not-
there's a
it-
budget. I understand.
That wasn't
I
actually my
just-
point.
I just feel like that maybe my office gets overlooked as a little less important because people don't understand what we're doing.
I-
And they see that we've got this large balance, but that balance is needed to maintain those records.
Linda has said the same things
Yeah.
in the past, and I certainly don't feel that way about your office, but my overarching point was that I think we are trying to free up every penny possible in the general so that we can get people raises.
There's just a
So-
reason that that fund's there, and it's to maintain those records over the history of time,
Right.
not,
Agreed, and I would rather not deteriorate that fund over the
Right.
next year or more so that it's there when we need it.
we need to
3
be good
years from
stewards
now
of that
or
money,
4
and,
years from
and
now.
it,
And the general fund is not shy on dollars. We can put an additional person in this department.
there used
it
to be,
also-
there used to be 6 full-time employees in there, and a prior
provides for
person let them go.
The opportunity
general
for
fund isn't-
training as well.
Isn't short dollars as far as savings, but as far as operating expenses, we will become short dollars.
If you
And
were
the only-
$142, I would agree with you.
What we have done historically is look for perpetuation funds that are in excess of what is needed for normal operating expenses. So it hasn't anything to do with the importance of your department, but historically, that fund has brought in more than what was needed for operating expenses, and was used for things other than operating expenses. And so even though it's cleaner to put it in the general fund, if there's excess where it could absorb a position, then I think that might be a good idea
But
too.
it-
Maybe something we need to discuss.
This is
over a
nothing
longer
personal.
period of
It
time.
really is not.
I
Do
realize
understand,
that.
do
I just-
understand what the
I'm just trying
recorders
to,
do.
it's my job to protect my office.
Absolutely. It's ours to look at the whole county. I think you need more staff. I think that was a wise ask. I'm just saying for starting out now, but
What if I paid half of the labor and you guys paid the other half of the labor and
that'd be,
I don't want to split a person.
I'd rather
between
not, but-
funds, But
I'm not against that, but I'd rather not.
So can I ask a question? And this is just a question. If her funds run low,
sure.
what's gonna happen to that position? Does she have to give that
No,
position?
then
No.
it comes back to
I
the
said it
general
would come back
fund.
to the general fund.
even if
I
that's in the
didn't
middle,
say that.
A
even
lot
if
of
that's in the
unknowns
middle
that
of the
could
year,
exist.
the
We
budget year?
don't know. And we-
But if we actually looked at that fund balance over time, how much it brings in, how much goes out from it, what it's used for. I just think historically it's brought in more than what is needed for
it is.
operation. So
The state's allowed it, and they probably, it is the envy of other departments, and that's nothing personal.
and if you had those funds earmarked for a project, I would listen to that too, but that big project has been funded, by federal money.
Oh, we still have a lot of back indexing to do. That's gonna take some time, but
And most of your records have been digitized. I came from
they've been
ArcMoney. didn't it?
scanned. We now have to physically index them, tag them, label
Okay.
them. So that's gonna take us a lot of hours.
Of you 4 members who've been here to listen to the whole argument, what's your druthers?
I mean, to me, we could go either way. I don't want to upset Lisa, but
It's not gonna upset me. I need to do what's best for my office. and
Sure.
I don't want to deplete the
Absolutely.
perpetuation fund for the next recorder.
yeah, I think
Right.
I don't want to be the one that took it down.
Understood.
I think we have operated in good faith.
We respect that.
The money's there now. I would never, I don't have a say next year, but I would never advocate for us to remove that full-time position. You obviously need it. I just think, we're just trying to think strategically. And if we're still in the mindset of trying to do these raises, if we can put chunk of that out of your perpetuation and it's not going to mess up your office because you have a healthy balance and it's still coming in, that just makes sense to me, but that's just me.
I think I would be willing to look at, balance over time and have another discussion about it. There's a philosophical issue to it of whether or not it's a good idea to pay for people that way, but if I had to decide right at this minute, I would say put it in the perpetuation fund, but it may be worth, when we actually discuss people and wages, it may be worth talking about again.
I think for now, that would be my suggestion. For now. You're department number 3 out of 16. That may change over the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Anything else for Lisa? Thank you very much. Goes over to the assessor, which is 08. Oh, 08, 11/31, 12/24. Hi, Jody.
I can.
What do you got?
Well, in the county assessor budget, there's nothing because that's just salaries.
4%. So 11/31 is what? Let's see. Find it. 12/24. What is 11/31?
Is there anything you wanted us to note from this? It's pretty straightforward.
Which one are you on? The disclosure?
11/31.
I moved on to the reassessment. Okay, are we on the disclosure?
The sales
now?
disclosure one, I don't do any much with, it's just part-time monies in it and supplies. Oh, and training. Training comes out of sales disclosure.
Still not fine.
Are your balances still okay on your
Yeah.
funds? You have no
Yeah.
concern?
Yeah. And reassessment, the only thing I changed on it was postage. It went down a little bit because I did change some stuff on it.
You get with Bill.
He needs your rate. on
He needs your,
postage.
he needs what you're cutting.
I didn't, I raised my postage, sorry.
Oh.
I raised my postage, but I
So you
changed
can
some
do it
other
now.
things.
I don't-
No, I
you're
did
the
raise
only
my
one.
postage, sorry.
on your stamp.
I raised it $1,500.
And
I don't know if that's enough, but
that's the property tax bills going out.
no, that's Form 11's going out,
Oh.
notice of
Is
assessments.
that what those are called?
Yeah.
I don't know all the lingo.
You won't let them combine them because we talked about trying to combine them.
Stay well.
We can't, the dates are too far off to do that.
Be nice.
It would be if Bill could send his tax bills out at the end of April.
Bill can't.
I know it, and Jody has to.
I'm glad you.
That's
two
all
get
I
along.
got. But you guys got something.
No, you actually, your 12/24 reassessment actually is lower than last year. You get a happy star, or whatever elementary
Yeah,
teachers
okay.
do, a smiley face.
Yeah,
But
I
stick with
try.
it. Anything else? On assessor? That was easy.
Well,
Well, I
you can
think-
just about bet there's probably not gonna be many tax dollars with all the caps and stuff, I can tell you.
Yeah, well, they look good on election year. They cut everybody's property taxes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks. Appreciate the work all of you do. Yeah, that was painless. Was that nice? Suicide is painless. Brings on many changes.
I can't believe we're on schedule. I didn't foresee that happening. It is, yeah.
Yeah, we would be 10 or 15 minutes over if we hadn't started early.
You know, I would be interested in seeing a graph of all the perpetuation funds balances over time.
Hers is by far the largest, by far, like 10 times anybody else's. Clerk has one.
But and it's possible that that fund should have been used for what the federal money was used for, if it had been used correctly over time.
Could be.
But,
I don't know enough to be able to say that for sure, but that's a good question.
it's something I don't know if you've heard those discussions in the past, but that money's been used to remodel the office and
So it is the envy of most
so it
departments.
doesn't mean she should be punished for it. It's
No.
just, is it accumulating more than
The state,
what?
the state gives that in every
And what
courthouse.
should that money be being used for instead?
It's there for a reason. I don't believe it's there.
Well, you're probably right.
You guys want to be my brother?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, Tom's not here. What number are you? It's easy. What you got, Debbie?
I added a stipend that they put in the statute this year. The only other thing I increased was,
You removed that position, which is why you're over, you removed that position now that, so that's why your budget went down.
I did. The girls absorbed it and they just. And I can't find them.
And you can't hire
Find it,
anybody.
can't keep it because they decided. Our girls really need to find. Yeah. I mean, it took me 4 months to find one person, just because the applications I was getting.
What line is the stipend under?
The $2,500.
Stipend.
I missed that, thanks.
So, yes, you have 9 employees now. How many did you have when you took off?
Oh my God, we had 13, 12. I don't remember. I think it was 13 when I took office.
I think they deserve the plaque that the clerk got 3 years ago.
Well, hopefully they're gonna get a nice raise and they can have a cookie. We can give them a plaque too.
Want a cookie?
But
or-
instead, let's
or
just raise,
plaque.
let's
Pizza
raise
and
their
pizza
wages
for
instead,
breakfast.
like we want to.
Yeah.
That's the, I mean, nothing changed. I added that in my budget. Nothing
Well-
else changed.
I don't think there's anything
No,
No, I eliminated a person.
that's why their total
that had
is less
sat
than last
open.
year.
Yeah.
I eliminated a position.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Last year.
No, well, it was, yeah, no, you're right. I did.
Welcome.
So. I guess we'll leave them wings.
Well,
I don't have it.
yeah,
I don't have one. I have a plat book maintenance fee that's got $19,000 in it.
who has a perpetuation other than the clerk and?
Clerk, prosecutor,
Excuse me.
Surveyor.
surveyor, Jody has reassessment.
Tom? Well,
Bring as many
there
as you want.
there were 5 up here at one time.
He has a planning enforcement fund, but I don't think you can take employees out of his.
No.
Planning Commission is on page 18079. Any questions about Debbie's? Well, I complimented Jody for having less requests in 25 and 24. Compliment you for having less requests in 25 and 24 and absorbing someone, and apparently it's working. And I hear from everyone that getting good employees hired and
Might
to
get harder
stay.
when they all can get vacation right now and I don't get
Yeah, right now,
vacation.
nobody really gets vacation because everybody's so new, so.
Yeah, that may change then. Okay, you're after commissioners. And before courthouse, why am I not finding you? Here we go. Get Susan back in.
Sorry.
Okay, 079, we're page 18, Tom Green, zoning administrator, planning commission. We got Tom. You went up 4% on your salary, right? Except board members, but your office.
Yep.
Okay. Where'd you increase? Office supplies, postage, everybody's postage.
Yeah,
What's
and
the deal with travel? Where are you going?
have to do a stormwater and floodplain management course.
Oh,
And
so it's
that's-
Training.
Yeah, it's training that's only offered in Virginia. So I'll have to go out there for 4 days, probably February.
Okay, your legal went down to pay for that.
Well, if you stay at the campus at the training center, the housing is relatively inexpensive. You just have to pay a meal fee.
But your legal request went down. Is that because we're not meeting every month?
Yeah, most of the legal proceedings happen in enforcement. So not as much happen in the planning zoning side. We still need some there because we don't know what we're gonna run into.
questions?
No,
Pretty straightforward.
only went up $750. Apart from wages.
Where's your enforcement one? I didn't like that. very much.
Yeah, it's, is there somewhere?
4202?
You'll see like on office supplies, we don't need as much in enforcement, so some of that was moved over to the planning side.
I'm not finding it.
An overall $1,200 increase in that from $5,800 to $7,000.
Just wondering why I don't.
But our activity is of about 12% in permits issued for the year. Revenues are gonna be about flat. Yeah, they might be up a little bit. We just did 35,000 in permits yesterday
You see,
for several big projects, so that helps a lot for the year. There was some revenue that was generated in the last couple of months of last year, but the building wasn't really started this year, but they wanted to get it in last year's business. So if you look at the trend, it was a little skewed last year because of early anticipation of construction, trying to get it on their books.
You said your legal transferred more over from the planning
Yeah,
to the enforcement part.
yeah, we're doing more enforcement than we did and I haven't gotten the latest bill from Sean, and I asked for that number, but I think we're gonna probably use everything that's in legal. I think it's gonna get used.
Yeah, I've been on the planning commission for 5 years. Do you pronounce his name Rowe or Rao?
Well, I think it's Roe, but I've heard it pronounced both ways.
Okay, I have two. That's what I asked. Since we're ahead of time, I asked these sidebar questions. I've heard it both ways. I didn't know what he prefers.
I don't
He's
either.
an attorney.
Yeah, so I just use Sean.
That's what he's called on the planning commission. Sean, legal counsel?
Yeah.
Council questions? Yours is straightforward.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
Debbie's is,
Yeah.
or Josie's was.
Thanks for coming in.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Go have some coffee. Oh, you got it.
I'm
You're
gonna-
required to take a cookie because no one else has and,
I'm getting ready
What?
to go.
yeah. So we could have a break until the next group comes in and then those oatmeal cookies are store-bought cookies.
You didn't make those?
I did remove the Kroger label, but they're fresh this morning. Aren't they good? If you like oatmeal raisin, those are really good store-bought cookies. Not grandma's, but
Don't
Is
get
it?
raisin.
you must cook. You cook. Yeah, I do some of ours.
My mom used to make these really good oatmeal banana. Need my mom's oatmeal banana.
Really?
recipes.
I don't think I've ever had an oatmeal banana.
These are real thick cookies.
Our family's been going with blueberry muffins. Our rationale is blueberry, they say, is healthy.
It's got fruit in it.
If
so-
you remove the muffin part, it's really healthy.
Um,
Gluten-free,
If you want something,
rice cakes.
Trader Joe's has really good gluten-free muffins. And where all the other kids in my house that don't have to do gluten-free, they covet the gluten-free muffin. That's very rare. You know, they're
That's what,
They have like a
rice
cinnamon.
cakes, cardboard rice cakes, to me, they're synonyms.
cardboard rice.
You guys have any questions back there? He's a good tutor.
What is that?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's where I was 5 years ago. What the heck is that? It's like nuclear fusion. It just self-perpetuates itself. Haven't perfected that yet. cookie time.
When I came on, you guys,
Oh, thank you. We have a meeting this month.
Fellow sugar lover.
All right, just checking. Right. Yeah. Okay, all right.
How you doing? Megan. We did. I felt bad about that, especially for Kyle, because he's the liaison to the surveyor office. But we started with the surveyor at 8:30. They were here. And I was like, there's no way we're gonna get through all these departments in 30 minutes, so sorry about that. We started 15 minutes early. Yeah, the only point of discussion was that surveyor perpetuation fund. And we put 5,000 in it rather than the 10 having taken out, so. I think so, yeah. Yep.
I need signatures, this county, or city council signed, this is.
Hmm.
Oh.
So.
What I heard. Wonder what the delay is in Travis putting an article about.
Who knows, it's gonna be bad.
It's, yeah, each day is delayed makes me wonder.
I know it. I expected it in the Saturday.
I didn't expect it. I did expect it yesterday or today for sure.
I don't wanna cause trouble. I wasn't. No.
There you go, that's good.
There's a, not fun. Departments went from. What she said.
But she thinks she's a.
Interesting.
It seems like a complete.
Well, they're fun. Granddaughter, good, they started back skating for school. They started back on golf, but yeah, new coach, she likes.
Factories, crazy, like some bridges and stuff.
I love that. The little one.
We really don't.
They think it's very boring, why I don't know.
It's kind of. We really have some. For sure. I think 2 or 3 years. Yes, but we need to be careful. I keep doing that. Was it Shannon? And after that, we need it.
I just.
So I'm trying to figure out what's right, what was the appropriate.
Three years, and she gets a cut of that, it's gonna go up. Maybe not this year, next year, 3 years from now, it's gonna cut.
One of the city council sign wrong, so we gotta redo it and have you guys sign it. And then I'll get mine.
I don't know. I think there's something.
Well, I have.
I don't know what to do.
I don't think it is as much.
Right, if they did. I do too.
Forgot highway here.
I think I came to most of the budget session the year before. If I came to all of them. No, I didn't. I can't remember. So, that's true, and same with Kyle. Right? That's true. It's hard to jump in. Well, your first budget year, you hardly know what's happening.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
That, and people like, I remember thinking, I just got very DLG, I was like, I don't know what that is. And
Is that bad?
Okay, that wasn't that hard, but
That's so true.
there's so much jargon, they just, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think I could pull it off. Fun to observe. Very interesting. Did you follow the Murdoch scandal years ago in South Carolina? Okay, did you watch the documentary? We just finished it yesterday. It was super interesting, actually. It was gripping. So I was gonna say, if you like, yeah. Son, that was the. I knew nothing about it at all. I never heard of it. How they start unpacking all of it. Dark and intriguing all at the same time. Yeah.
That's where all the load increases are going to be, all these hundreds of things. The part-time.
And you develop the mentality over generations that it doesn't matter what you do, you can get off the hook for anything. And anything is worth. Yeah. Did you watch the Netflix?
No. I just followed it, like.
You followed the real.
Is it really good?
So good. Yes. It's really hard to find anything quality to watch, especially with our kids, like our older ones, we're watching something actually interesting, but you're also trying not to watch really nasty stuff. And yeah, we all really loved it. It was really interesting to watch. Okay. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I would say.
my 12-year-old and 9-year-old did sleep on the floor that night that we watched it. It's kind of spooky. Yeah. Right. Yes. When Daniel was, he's 9 now, when he was 6, I think we were about 6, we were watching The Office with our older ones and just kind of editing the parts that didn't seem good. And it told me he understood that humor. As a 6-year-old, he'd be like, do they mean such and such? I'm like, yeah, that sarcastic humor he followed at 6.
I think largely because of your research and reaching out to people in the know where we're heading. Not fast.
They want it fast now. And I'm like,
We're not moving faster.
faster than I want to go.
Yeah.
But we start rebuilding.
And where that originates in their mind, what triggered that thought process? Okay. It just ruminates in there and comes out in funny ways. I've seen it, but we don't watch it generally.
It's really cute.
Okay.
It's like, I mean, it's hard to see. I haven't spent a they don't watch it.
Those are the good ones when you're not dying while you're watching the show.
Once you see it,
Bushweed.
And I'm okay with that, because nobody else has anything. 10%.
Chrissy was so cute this morning. She came in the bathroom. I was in the shower, and normally I'd have still been in bed with her. She's her little lower lip was twiggling.
That talk
Like,
will
"Mama."
continue.
I said, you can just go lay with daddy and snuggle in. She says, no, mama, I love you too much. I can't do that.
Like it's competitive.
Like she just needed mama or something. I don't know. It was so cute. I said, you have to go snuggle with daddy. When I got in the shower, they were snuggling. Yeah, I told him he was gonna get up this morning and run. I was like, just sleeping with the kids. You can run while they watch TV. And I was like, enjoy the life of a housewife for a day, you know? He's like, that's not a bad idea.
Those trends I've seen also.
Which is really only my life on very rare days, but it's still something to, I don't know. Yeah.
And you were
Yesterday.
I agree with.
This is Kaya's from years ago, and it's just what I found today. You know, right?
Again, good to see you. You can tell who's the engineer and who's the worker.
You just said, work, Joe. Nice.
He's gone back with him. Usually it's the attorney and the administrative assistant. But I'll have to say the attorney office and the administrative assistants are part of interest more than people that are out there doing asphalt. You know, people think, what do you do? Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Joe Whiteley said he had 36 at one time when he came on. 38. He wasn't counting the two offices. 36, what do you have now, 24? Oh, you're right. Okay. 25. 25 to 36. So you're down 11 workers. I work on the Joe, for sure. So still 777 miles of road. With 11 fewer workers. Oh, you've added some. Says 780 in the AIC book. Okay, you guys ready? They're in early and they're gonna take probably an hour and a half.
Meeting at 10:30.
Man, we have questions. I have down, correct me if you're wrong, if I'm wrong. I have down 1173, 1169, which is local road and street motor vehicle is 1173. The big one is at 1176. And cumulative bridge is 1135. Low HUD is 6020. Where do you want to start? So we get to the right page. Our pages are all different than what you submitted, so we have to kind of get in sync.
Copies of what.
Thank you. Bless you. Start bridge? That saves a half hour right
Did you
there.
say Cume Bridge?
Yeah, we'll start with bridge. Okay, 1135. That does help it, Debbie. You know, she's gone through this before. Okay, 1135. Well, it's one of one. It's out of the, it's no longer in the general, but 1135.
Joe, have we talked to you about the possibility of increasing the,
Great.
the tax rate slightly to Cume Bridge? Okay.
That's
Sorry
where
that you found
that's
out
where we
about it
get
in the
most of our
paper.
information. And sometimes it's accurate.
Yeah, so that's an idea that we've just been talking about. So should talk about that with you today too, so you don't have to just read about it in the paper.
Yeah, and that was just something that was mentioned by Jason Semler as an option for saving for bridges.
And he came up and said dollar for dollar, if we raise cumulative bridge X amount, it's gonna take that same X amount out of general fund. So it's just a discussion. Okay, great.
The reason I handed this out is because
Sorry.
I handed this out because of the forms you're gonna see doesn't show the reimbursement. We have 280,800 potential reimbursement from NDOT for federal aid projects. One is bridge inspection, the other is Bridge 162, the one that just we just got approved, and then Bridge 138 on 950 East North to 350 South. And 80% of that is 280,800, so.
I think that was shared at that one meeting. You gave us that great big spreadsheet for bridges.
Because you're not gonna see the reimbursement.
No, that helps.
So
So I add that to what you said earlier. That's the complete picture.
that makes a big difference.
Well, that helps. Almost 300,000.
So if we did increase the rate, I'm guessing that you would just be able to work through that list that you showed us ever so slightly faster. Is that accurate? Okay.
I'll do probably an additional bridge and more culverts. We're way behind on culverts, big culverts. Way behind.
Do you remember what yours, was it what your range was, 100 to 200,000 a year? Was that the low and high you had?
I don't remember, but I'll find it.
I remember the
I
100.
don't have that one with
I don't
me.
remember the high.
I think it was 100 or 250, but I'll look.
Okay.
He had done a calculation of how much short you had been running.
Yeah, it was
given the
more of a
spreadsheets.
scientific wild guess than it was.
I mean, if I put everything
hard.
on there that we need, it'd be, I mean, on my plan, it would be a lot worse than what you see. This is something that that will work. We just got to be careful how we spend our money.
Yes.
Yes, that document I shared with the council showed a minimum of 100 and a maximum of 250 saving.
And so then the question for the council is just how much we want to allow out of the general fund to move over into Cambridge.
I just found this, I'm gonna share it. Your department is has the smallest number of staff than any other county, between 40 and 50,000 population. I've got the road miles elsewhere, but you have 25. LaGrange has 30. Marshall County has 32 workers in the highway. Du Bois has 33. They're all smaller population. I know the road miles make more difference, but I have that information too.
Oh, all right.
So
At
if-
any rate, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, Kenny. If we did 150,000, that would be a 17% increase over this year's department request. If we did 200, it'd be a 22% increase over this year's department request.
How much was that latter statement?
If it was 200,000, if it was 200,000, it'd be a 22% increase over the ask this year. I don't really know the best way to come up with the number. What? Do you have any input? I mean, the more the better, obviously, but,
You mean additional funding for
right,
bridge?
if we're looking at 100,000, 150, 200,000, I mean, if you got 100,000 more is that significant to you?
A small bridge right now, for me to put in a steel, will cost, let's say in a 30-some foot range, will cost us probably in the neighborhood of 300 to 325,000
Okay.
total.
The purpose behind what I had put in my spreadsheet was you gave us your overall plan and we needed to make sure we have money sitting here for 2030 or 2028 or whatever it was. The reason I put 100 to 250 in there was not necessarily to get extra work done. It was to make sure we have money sitting there when we get to
Oh.
that point. So I understand we could get more work done, but then if we
I had forgotten that.
don't put money aside, where's that money gonna come from in 2030 or wherever it was?
It's something, if we get in a bind, something's gonna get delayed, there's no doubt about it. Federal aid, we need to keep on track. The state NDOT does not like delays on those jobs. They have quite a bit of that right now. And it looks pretty bad on us if we do that.
So in 2028, what was the amount needed for that bridge project?
For the bridge or the total?
Well, I know
Our,
she,
our amount that we had to make sure was there for two different bridge projects was
The-
like 850,000 or something.
Yeah, the total with the culverts and all was 1,866,000 roughly.
The two big projects there in the later years, one was 600 something, the other was 200 something. I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah. The one in 28 is Bridge 138, federal aid. And our share of the estimated share of the construction is 295,000, just for that one. And then in 29, Bridge 162, our estimated cost is 520,000.
Those are the two that I was trying to identify that we need to bring in some dollars to make sure it's there when we get there.
So were you concerned about that money being there, or you already had planned for how that money would?
Here's what I will spend the limit of what I have on this plan. That means I'm going to have to delay other bridges and large culverts. I mean, when I say large culverts, I'm talking those that are probably between 8 and 20 feet in length span. Okay, will they fail? Yeah, they can fail. Sure can. And I've got, there's a couple in the back of my mind now that need replaced. I'm working on one right now. I've ordered the steel. It's a 19, almost 20-foot span, just barely under 20 feet. So it'll go back with the bridge. But we just have to delay the replacement of ones that are needing it. I have no choice.
So if we did increase this, you would not delay some of those, but you still feel like you would have enough then in 28 and 29?
Yeah.
Your overall cumulative bridge request has gone up a little over 11%. I'm gonna, tell me if I'm wrong, I'm guessing, knowing that construction costs have gone up more than the regular inflation rate, that most of that has to just do with increased cost of doing business.
Yeah, labor's went up, equipment costs have went up, and of course, material has gone up. Some of the material problems is with, the design of these bridges. The federal highway has changed the way that these consultants have to design the bridges. It used to be called HS20 design, load ratings, they call them, and now the new term is HL93, and it's different. It requires, on some of these bridges, it requires more material. So some of the increase is due to that, especially on these small bridges.
So just in the realm of brainstorming, this is something that we can adjust every year, this tax split. And we are gonna have excess reserves in our general fund. So for a year or two, do we want to split more this way and see some of this work done and watch the reserve balance?
That's kind of philosophy we used with the last department. We have monies to do that this year that we've really not had. At least we'll have monies in 2025. I know I've shared and you've shared with me as a liaison in the last 3 years that the cumulative bridge is just really insufficient. And again, comparing with other counties with actually fewer number of bridges, we're one of the lowest as far as revenues coming in from Cume Bridge. But the last several years, we've not had expected monies to do this. And it can be adjusted down the road, like Susan said. It seems to me like this could be the year we could tackle a problem which has been a shortfall in cumulative bridge.
Let me tell Kyle and Betsy something that you may not know. So we are projected this year to earn $600,000 in interest, and we're gonna earn about three+ million. And that's great. It's, I had a conversation with Bill about it. We can't plan to keep getting it. But right now, our reserves are like at that 6 million we talked about. That's probably enough. If we actually get this 3+ million, we could end the year at 9 million in reserves. So maybe while interest rates are up, we get more work done. This is just what's going through my head right now so that everyone can think about it the same, with the same information.
So 600,000 for the rest of the year based on interest is the
We
expectation?
were supposed to get 600,000 for the entire year.
Entire year.
We've already got 1.5 we've already probably got about 2 million. He didn't have, through May, we'd gotten 1.5 million.
Okay,
So he's saying we're gonna probably get 3 to 3.5 million for the year. So we could almost get 3 million more than we
Gotcha.
were expecting.
yep.
His request at 11%, he's asked for $92,000 more than last year already in the request. But partially is because he doesn't get enough from cumulative bridge tax funding because the rate's lower than most counties our size with our number of bridges.
Do we have that cheat sheet that we always go off of for the requested amounts and then,
Baker Tilly,
yeah, we don't have that yet. Okay, that's fine.
not yet.
No problem.
They have one, interest is 1,360,147 today.
Okay. That's not what, it's, I mean, it's close to what Bill gave me.
That's what we have,
That's,
it receipted in,
In the general fund or in all funds?
just the general.
Thank
okay.
you.
And what month, do you know what month that goes through?
Yeah, it's already done, July already.
Okay, that's a significant difference than what he said. Thank you.
Maybe looking at the not, we will put it in everyone. Well, I've totally collected what I'm saying.
Okay.
Let's find the current data.
Can you tell me again?
Surveyor,
Okay,
farm.
Yeah. It's 1,360,147.
okay. So that's $1 million different. Here we go. That's through July.
Maybe I didn't press send.
Something else you guys need to make sure and remember, new governor's coming in, new tax plans are coming out. And you don't know what's gonna happen, because if 2 of them that are proposed actually was to go through, county's gonna take a huge hit.
Yeah.
That's definitely true, but I mean, that's just years in the making, right? Like, I mean, but they would have to go through the legislature.
This is just a 1-year decision, but, so rather than the 3 to 3.5, I said it's gonna be 2.3 if it continues the same. So 2.3 rather than the 600,000. So it could be 1.7 more than we were expecting.
Well, Suzanne Crouch ran on cutting income taxes. That had to be made up elsewhere, or we would have taken a tremendous hit like Debbie's saying. And so we really don't know what the future's gonna bring as far as taxes and revenues, for sure.
Any rate cut in the near future, that's not gonna be astronomical. So the interest rate from interest essentially likely gonna be.
You're talking about the feds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be very slow and very incrementally lower.
So how much can we make up if there were additional appropriations from that earned interest? Based on what we know with the rates right now, what will we still replenish from interest going forward? Just from the standpoint of thinking, like, well, you don't want to
That's
deplete
what
that
I
principal,
was trying
right?
to figure out
Yeah.
for the 2 weeks before I voted on the tax rate. I mean, we all, that, right? We were all, and it's a good question. How quickly will they go down?
Yeah, and I don't think that
What will they end up
for the
at?
foreseeable future, they're gonna drop that quickly.
I know. That's what I talked to Bill about. When it drops off quick. We brought in 200,000 to the general fund in 22 in interest.
Yeah.
So that's quite a bit less than
Right,
the 2.3 million. And then last year we brought in 1.8 million in interest to the general fund alone.
right. And that's all tied to the federal
Right.
rate, which was at basically an all-time in our generation low, and then boom,
Right.
shoots up. But I don't think that where we're at now, I mean, I'm no economist, but I can't imagine it's just gonna drop that quickly again
It
under
went
the
up
current
quickly, but
environment.
it's been stationary for
Yeah.
a year and a half, pretty much. And they're talking maybe lowering it 0.1.
Incrementally,
Very
exactly.
Incrementally, and
And
that's.
it's gonna
Because they
depend
won't
on the
wanna throw
election,
a-
it's gonna depend on economic, I mean, policy, like, who knows what's gonna happen?
You're averaging about $200,000 a month.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
I think the bottom line is with the lits and other things that we can pay things that have been paid out of the general fund, we're in a position now to consider increasing the Cume Bridge rate that we weren't in the last 3 years. I think that's what I'm hearing, the overall thing, and
I think-
we're in a better position.
Our citizens want this kind of work done, and if we are sitting on any excess reserves, I think this is
the
a
year we
good
can
thing
do
to
it.
do with it, and
Yeah.
try it and see how it maintains over time.
This is
but-
an ideal time to consider it. We just couldn't in the past to give the kind of raises like 5% last year. But it just keeps been increasing. And Debbie's right. We don't know what the future's gonna hold, but it's gonna be brighter than it has in the last 5 years, I think. County.
The
with
message
what we
would probably
decided
be
last
that
Thursday.
it might just be
It's
for
gonna
1
better.
year, depending on how interest rates go. Maybe it's 1 year, maybe it's 10, but we should try it this
How-
year, I think, and see.
How do we determine as a council how much?
And I need to check. I think Hume accounts interest when we can do them are different.
I didn't hear you.
They're different when we can increase. And I think the time to already increase the Cume funds has already passed. That's what I'm.
For
looking to
next year.
see.
I,
For next year.
I,
They're
that's,
different
Yeah,
than
there is
the
a
other one.
timeline.
yeah.
I'm
I
pretty
know
sure
we
they
switched
are.
Others during budget session.
You have to advertise.
You can other funds, but the Cume funds are different for
Okay.
whatever, and I can't tell you why.
Can you find that date out for us? Okay.
And the
But
commissioners have to do it.
Unless we're open to it whenever we can, I think, is what I'm hearing. Am I open to increasing
you-
it, but the deadline
what
for
do you guys
doing
think?
so?
We're really talking about changing, not increasing taxes. We're talking
No,
about,
right.
we're talking about modifying where the revenue stream from property taxes goes. So a little less in the general fund and a little more in Cume Bridge is what we're talking about.
Right,
That's what Jason was saying. It's a 1-to-1.
right.
You increase the 200,000 on Cume Bridge, you're taking 200,000 out of general fund.
I know that the paperwork is out there for 2025. I just looked on the DLGF website. So I don't know if that rate can be modified at this
That's what
point.
I'm saying, there's, because I'm pretty sure I got the email earlier on, so that's, but I'm emailing right now.
Okay. If we can still do it this year, it might be a good thing. If we can't, then it'll have to change next year. How it affects the budget, though, would just mean, could we allocate a certain dollar amount out of the general fund in one of budgets that we could use?
Do you have a recommendation? Because you had a range, even though it wasn't scientific.
Did you just say for this year, we could just allocate a certain amount from the general?
Just
fund?
not in the Cume Bridge, we would have to allocate it out of the general fund, which one is that, 1170? No, do you have a general fund budget? You don't.
No.
He's all separate tax rate.
So we would have to add a line item in somebody's budget, commissioners, council, whatever, but
And can we do that,
Reclassification.
Debbie? Debbie, if we added a line item to the council budget for them to pay bridge expenses from, can he do that?
Reclassification.
No. I'm asking Steve.
Okay.
That seems to be our favorite as a placeholder. I would too. That was my tongue in cheek. Okay.
And did you suggest an amount?
What, your range was 100 to 250?
my thought process was, when we did this, was to build a savings account, not to put money in there for additional things to get spent. So I'm in favor of the budget, how he's presented it. And if we want to allocate money out of the general fund to have a savings account there for 2028, I'm not opposed to that. So if we want to modify the property tax division, how it's divided up, I would be in favor of looking at that to make sure we take care of things moving forward, but I guess I wouldn't prefer to allocate any money in 2025 out of the general fund for bridges. I mean, it's there. We know it's sitting in the general fund reserves. Let's make sure we don't spend it and we have it in savings for 2028.
Isn't that what the rainy day fund?
Yeah, can we put it in
Kinda.
rainy day
We
fund?
could.
Yeah.
We could.
I mean, and then you have it for any emergency
Right.
and not
Yes.
just in sitting.
Not targeted toward one.
That's
But
good.
if you allocate it in yours for bridges, it has to be spent this year,
Right.
but other,
What
But
budget
if-
is the rainy day fund in?
uh,
What budget is the rainy day fund in?
it's in its
Yeah.
own, it's just it's a fund of its own.
And it's gone from 205 to like 290, I think. Could we put some monies in there?
I'm not opposed to anywhere that it goes, whether it sits in reserves or if it sits in rainy day fund. My fear of putting it in rainy day fund is we'll have a rainy day between now
We-
and 2028.
Well, historically, we haven't the 5 years we've been on.
I understand.
We realize it could at any
A-
time.
And we could allocate dollars for a rainy day fund as well. I'm not opposed to that, but if we want to make sure those dollars are there for 2028, we better find a way to put them there and leave them there.
Okay.
So
How
I
about-
agree with that, that Joe is saying he's just gonna do less work while we get there.
That's what he's had to do with his budget. Every department, if we limit it, especially Cume Bridge. It has been very limited.
If I have assurance that our copay for the construction of those two federal aid bridges is there, then I can use that money for another bridge or some culverts, okay?
So that helps.
Yeah, definitely.
That's why you shared that spreadsheet. So what you actually requested is 92,000 more than 2024. Is the council okay with approving that, what he put down for 1135 cumulative bridge in that page? Everybody, we
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
And
Okay.
what's the amount that
I would
you
suggest
would wanna feel
100.
assured is there? The 500,000, the 800,000?
Yeah, if we could, if you could, yeah, the 520 and the 295.
520 and 295,
I'd use that for other projects.
$815,000.
To go where?
Right now in general fund reserves.
By 28?
That's an estimate. That
Yeah,
could go
it's
down
vague.
or it could go up. I mean, I expect it to go down. They're usually high.
It's an educated estimate.
And was that by 28?
And
One by
that's-
28, one by 29?
Yeah, it'll be paid in 2029.
Okay.
They will not start, NDOT will not start award the bid until we've paid our share.
So that would be about 200 a year.
Well, 5, 6, 25, 26, 27, 28, yeah. Is that right? Maybe have this down.
Huh? What are you? What?
We didn't
not
change
really.
anything
We
in the
didn't do
budget,
anything
so
yet,
she's not
but-
Is
keeping
that a
that.
note to ourselves?
I believe it is.
You guys
The,
have
the
those
estimate
notes?
was we need to save about 200,000 a year over the next 4 years to make sure those dollars are there to match
So-
those.
Joe can continue
Federal
on with
funds.
other work.
And I'll just tell you, most counties right now, they're taking every last penny they can and putting it in their rainy day fund. Madison County has like $2 million in the rainy
So-
day.
And I'm not opposed to that as long as everybody's in agreement with what we're
Yeah.
gonna use that for.
Okay. We okay, everybody, with 1135 cumulative bridge? The next numerically is 1169 local road and street. We're just going through our book in numerical order. And you've actually reduced it a little bit from 2024. It goes for road equipment, road maintenance, and general maintenance, a
So these are all going down because you had
little bit.
tried to get as much work done as fast as you could. Now you're stepping back.
Anything you want to comment on local road and street? Braden? It did go down, the total went down a little bit, like 7%.
Well, part of that's because.
Mike, just move the mic over, thanks. We're
Thank-
recording.
Think we have another line item for some of that, that was previously in here. And another.
General maintenance was the main one that went down. The others, road maintenance, went down some, 1169.
Yeah, I was looking to see,
Road equipment went down a little bit. And, well, all three went down slightly.
We figured we had.
well, we're hoping our vehicles are in a lot better shape than what they were for one, so we don't have to spend as much.
5 years ago, they were in
repairs.
terrible shape.
Well, we still got a long way to go, but they're in much better shape than they was, you know,
Process.
2 or 3 years ago.
That's good.
Maintenance costs, equipment maintenance. Been doing this.
The number of repairs has went down, but the cost of the repairs is going up, especially with some, you know, as the newer vehicles we get, obviously it costs more money to repair those, but the number of repairs that we're doing is going down. So.
Cost for new equipment's going up.
So the rationale for reducing your ask by about 7% is using more of the balance on hand and
Mhm.
income coming in and which will offset the inflation rate you're talking about by the increase in actual maintenance.
Yeah.
Give you an idea of the cost of new equipment. A new John Deere road grader.
You need to move the mic over, I'm sorry.
The cost of a new John Deere road grader with all-wheel drive, which we need, snow, what they call a 772, is now a little over $400,000. Yeah. Give you an idea.
Like one of those huge John Deere four-wheel drive, about the same. Unbelievable.
And the plan is to try to continue to get new dump trucks as well. So as we're able to upgrade our dump trucks, you know, obviously with newer trucks, less repairs. So hopefully we're able to continue to upgrade a couple a year, hopefully.
Questions on local road and street? Kyle, Betsy, we good? So we're good with what he has down? Okay, next one I think in order is the 1173. A few pages back, which is MVH restricted for repair and maintenance again. And it's gone up a bit. And the biggest increase is 400,000 for bituminous. And I think that's been historically, it's gone up, especially if you are paving more roads.
Joe, just out of curiosity, how is the cost of bituminous right now?
It's holding, it's all. I mean, what was bid is still pretty much, I haven't received any updates on higher or lower. So what they bid late last year is still holding true, so
So you're not seeing crazy increases?
we have not seen an increase.
That's
yet.
good.
So you're expecting to use more of it? I mean, more roads, because it did go up 400,000, are you expecting to
Yes.
put more down?
And the chip and seal is being used for, has been done by a contractor, and they're gonna be in here next week. So,
It's a company from Illinois that's contracted it out.
yes, from Illinois, so, and it's gonna look a lot different than what you've seen in the past. It'll look like what NDOT does.
It's got that
It's-
sealant over or whatever you call it, over the top.
Fog seal, yeah, fog seal, and hopefully it'll cut down on the number of, calls. You know, dust and chips flying and
I
cracking.
got a call on that. I think it went something like, but they're gonna fix my road. Now it's a gravel road. Got more dust than a gravel road.
When it's done, it'll be black, so.
I sicked them on you. You set them straight. So as part of this, MVH, go to the chip seal? It's not all bituminous, or is it in a different fund? You mentioned the
We
chip seal.
take, as far as I know, they've been taking, asphalt and chip and seal material out of this fund and
Okay, so it's spread over more than one.
yeah. We try to empty, in the, last year I had them try to empty the 1173 first. So we don't want any left over in 1173. And as you notice, 09 is still 500,000 for bridges, so out of that fund.
Okay. Your request is about 11.8% more, I think is what I'm saying. Any questions about their 1173 MVH? If you turn forward, 1176 is one of their larger one. It's broken down into administration and again, maintenance and repair. Can you share how many hours a week you've been averaging since you've gone part-time?
Varies.
Right, is there,
Yeah.
does it
Well,
average
here's-
at all?
I've been putting more hours in here than I have Randolph for a couple of reasons. One is the surveyor's office. I do help with the drainage, stormwater ordinance that they're coming in with. I had to review it. Helping review, new ponds that they're putting in, new development. I review the drainage, calculations for all new development. So that's part of it. Right there, a big part of it that I'm having to do. And I'm still doing the bridges and I designed the culverts. And now I'm doing the pavement markings for the roads.
So your request.
I'm putting in, I do not exceed 28 hours in a week, both places. I'm probably putting in somewhere around, I don't know, and 15, 16, maybe average.
28's the limit for,
Yeah, I can't go over
insurance,
28. yeah.
insurance, basically.
So I have not done
Obamacare.
over 28.
Okay. Other questions from the council? Looks like you went up more than 4% on your office managers. I don't have my calculator here, but I think it's more than 4%. So that may be capped. I don't know yet. We haven't decided on raises.
So if our raises we decide on are greater than that 4%, will you be able to adjust your budget then to?
For more,
If it's more than the 4%?
These should have that 4% already figured into it.
yeah,
Should
okay.
have.
And if
Should.
I didn't break my calculator.
if what we do is more than that,
37.
I think on here, the only one that didn't get the 4% was, the engineer.
but say we came back and said it's gonna be 6, would you be able to, okay, that's what I would.
This one, what's a 4% increase? I didn't find. And less than 5 or.
Shouldn't be.
We received the Wagner Irwin Shealy report and we are looking to move people up probably to 95% of market value.
Oh, okay.
Which is a good thing for our employees, but I just wanted to see your reaction when I said that.
Yeah, that's good.
It is good
They're common workers
So
and,
that's planning on coming next week to the.
Monday.
to hear the discussion about that, yeah.
Wagner Irwin Shealy indicated that Comet, office, mostly office workers were one of the more significantly lower paid than what they about 9% is what you put down.
Okay, well, that was a mistake.
Okay. And we don't know what anybody's gonna be yet. So at any rate, longevity, that's at overtime, same. Assistant superintendent looks like maybe 4%. Superintendent went way up. Their reason, Braden?
Well, I'm sorry.
The reason is because the superintendent, his classification used to be assistant superintendent. Joe was engineer slash superintendent, so think Braden's salary last year was budgeted in there at 62.5.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Because Joe retired, things got jockeyed around
That was
Yes.
done after the budget. approval.
after the budget. So what we're seeing is in really incorrect numbers in the 2024 budget.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. That explains it. And the vacation's new. What's the vacation line for?
The one right underneath the superintendent.
Who are you wanting to pay out the vacation?
That's when I talked to you about doing the payouts, so it was mentioned that go ahead and put that in the budget in case it was passed, so that's why it's in there, so.
I think it's premature to have it in the budget for 2025. I think that has to go before the personnel committee and the whole group to modify what the handbook says.
Yeah.
Any chance of it happening probably wouldn't happen until 2026, in my opinion.
So we.
It was just a suggestion, so that's what we went ahead and.
So you're
went with, so.
suggesting.
I
strike
agree with that.
Yeah,
I
he
think
said there's a
it's-
big red flag next to that that says, please cut me.
Okay. So vacation strike, 33.92. Postage, you're the only one that's not had postage go up. Same. I think the truck drivers went up more than 4% too.
Almost not, about 9.5%.
Well,
But if you do Maria's at the 37,569.
Yeah, that's what he said, but go down to truck drivers, that looks like it's way more than 4% also.
well, that,
That will help fill out their budget after we. decide what we're going to
Shannon's
do.
on it. 1176 is divided into administration and maintenance and repair. And I'm on the maintenance and repair now.
well, I had to move one back.
21%, so we're gonna have to adjust
Is-
that.
Did you add additional truck drivers? Is there any additional bodies in that count?
So we had a few of what used to be heavy equipment positions, those did get switched to truck drivers.
So
positions.
net.
Started out,
A little bit, but not that much.
Well, if you look at the net, 364 and 210 is what we had in 2024, so $574,000.
So a lot of that switched.
You look at 441 and 137, we're not that different, so that's just a
Okay.
matter of moving
You're good.
full-time equivalents between
Thank
categories.
thank you. It was switching those two positions.
Yes.
but It probably is close to 4%.
yes.
And the others, some are, yeah. Laborer, you have two laborer positions, as I recall. Which would be more than 25,000 a person, so you increase that to more like 40,000.
Or is that an additional labor?
Well, he added
That's
those mid-year, there's two laborers.
Two total.
You were without those.
Gotcha.
Two laborers. And then the summer help is our part-time help, which we have two of those as well.
Longevity went up quite a bit. Because of the changes we made last year, probably.
Right.
And again, the vacation sick compensation, that's the same as what we talked about earlier, under vacation for the.
Correct.
And is that something we need to strike based on what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Debbie, we need to strike the vacation at 531 1000-12 or .12
For maintenance and repair.
under maintenance and repair, that 15,430 we need to strike. Crew leaders looks like it probably is 4%. Hardware and tools went up, yeah. Road signs, same, drainage assessment, same, education and travel went up some. Then we get into the area of the mechanics and dispatcher. How many mechanics do you have? You have multiple, don't you? Two, three?
There's two of them that have their classification as mechanic.
And you've got a parts manager too, also.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some adjustment probably to the group insurance amount, as we're gonna refine those calculations even more. So I don't know that it'll be significantly different, but you could expect some change.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
The four departments, you, park, 911, health. We're gonna, finally, we've been getting closer to evening that up per person, because it was so lopsided 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We started addressing that to make it more. Shannon's been working with numbers, Cobra, Josh
Really based
Estel.
on-
It should be really close-ish next
Yeah,
year.
last
Okay.
year's actuals. And so if you have now a lot of people who are on individual plans, you're probably gonna, this will go down rather than being average. If you have a lot of people with family plans, this could go up because your average will,
Right.
so, and I don't know how you guys fall in that, but it'll change somewhat.
So is the 480 in your group insurance line the only group insurance you have for all funds? Is it all being paid out of 1176,533?
Yes.
So based on that document that I sent to you guys, the number for highway is 658,000.
Ouch. A big difference.
We haven't made the change yet, so the 480,000 that's in the highway budget is based on the calculations for Cobra and all of those things. The calculated number came out at $658,000. And I'll share with you why I think that is, because highway has, let me find it, 15 individuals on the retirement. And that we did not take retired employees into account when we did the calculation last year. And so if we include retirees to be paid out of this budget, then that number goes up quite a bit.
178,000 more.
I would tell you that that would mean a decrease of that amount in the general fund based on where those group insurance rates are being paid out of now, I believe, in the commissioner's budget. So the real question, philosophical question for the council is, do we want to pay retirees out of the fund that pay for retirees' medical insurance out of the fund that they retired from? Or do we want to pay it out of general?
Well, we need to do the same for all the four
Agreed,
departments.
we need to be consistent.
What takes out that, what we just talked about, that 825,000 for the general fund that we said, it takes a big chunk out of that if you're talking about taking it out of what we just added. The 200,000 per year. It's only going to leave 22,000 to what we talked about earlier. We make that
I think we
decision
need
now.
to- We won't decide today.
We need to
Look
have
at
a,
how it affects all our
we need to have a
departments.
philosophical discussion about that when we discuss wage increases and stuff,
Just as a note,
possibly tomorrow.
future reference,
And when
that's a
you're,
possibility.
when you're talking about increases, remember your liability, workman's comp,
He's got-
because the majority of them, the highway had enough. The commissioners picked up a lot because the majority of the other departments did not have the money to pay it because it took such a big jump.
About group liability.
Our workman's comp went up over $58,000.
I spoke with Mandy yesterday and she just got her workman's comp bill and it's horrendous comparatively to what she had seen. For retirees breakout, the county's contribution for retirees to the highway is $204,000. So if we were to continue to pay that out of the general fund, that 658 would go down to 454, which is just below, just under what the 480 that we've got budgeted. So, something for us to consider.
Well, you made a note for them and the other three departments, right? That is a biggie. Worst case scenario, the 825 we talked about earlier, is gonna be considerably less if the decision is to take it out of the department from which employees are getting that fringe benefit from. Still an increase, but it's a fraction of the increase we talked about earlier. I think you also have vacation under that. Do we need to remove that on the same premise?
Yes. So vacation under the 533 general and undistributed should go to 0 from 3517 to 0.
Yeah, the 1176 under maintenance and repair, Department 533, we're taking out vacation. So we're consistent there.
So with the removal of that vacation, much of the additional increase in wages or some of that will offset. The retirement contribution is a big question for you guys, but we'll get back to you.
A big increase, again, under the Department 533 of 1176 is garage and motor supplies had 0 and now it's 200,000. I'm not sure what that's all about.
That's what I was looking for earlier. That's the reason why, 1169 went down some.
So it's, but some of that is
Big-
moved from 1169 to this.
Biggest reason for that is so that we have, more money for our, road equipment, so we can continue to update equipment as needed very badly.
Using money from a different place.
Well, he's saying it, he gave the rationale, but the 1169 went down 155,000.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of a 200,000, it's basically a $45,000 net increase in garage and motor supplies, which has been moved over to 1176, Department 533 under general and undistributed. So it's a $45,000 increase, and the rationale is just increased cost.
Like I said, the number of repairs are going down, but the cost of them is going up.
Every time I take a vehicle in, I've noticed that.
Yes,
That allows more money for new equipment.
correct. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. That allows us to have more money in our equipment under 1169 to continue to be able to update equipment and trucks that are desperately needed.
Questions, council? It's gone up about 20%.
I think their budgets look good.
Okay. So liability and casualty insurance,
So what did we say about that? That we are expecting their line item to increase? Or we haven't decided that yet, what we're gonna put in each? We increased liability and safety lit
yeah, a lot. Well, yeah,
enough
we
to
had,
cover the 24 increase.
mhm. I don't-
So
Have we really looked at it
if we need
closely?
to talk about again how it should be split to make it equitable, like insurance, I don't know.
Well, when we passed the safety lit, that was one of the areas that Shannon had as a spreadsheet of increase in all these areas. And definitely the liability insurance was a big chunk of that.
Yeah, and that was the safety lit budget we submitted.
Right.
We could change it, but where all does the liability, insurance come from, Debbie? Commissioners, highway? Say that again. What different places fund the liability insurance?
Commissioners, highway, sheriff, community corrections, ambulance, park, and 911.
And then safety lit had a little and we increased it a lot. It
I
had,
put liability and safety lit.
had a little bit, yeah.
Chunk.
We didn't really think about that.
But when we,
Well, we ended up taking it all out of the commissioners and we had to move money around.
for this, okay, for this year, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
this year.
What did the commissioner budget for?
They budgeted $500,000 more.
So we might have duplicated.
We did. I saw that after we did our safety lit, that they added it too. So we probably need to talk about how that's split up too.
Who's making notes on these future?
I just have two notes, liability insurance and group health. And of course,
Shannon has-
wages is,
New document. Shannon's got a new document separating current employees from retirees
yes.
for all of the departments, so I will send that to Debbie or somebody, see if they can print it for us.
Okay.
So we have it here shortly.
Where's that from? Oh,
This is the
That's-
document that I sent to you guys,
Right.
but I included a total,
right.
and
You
I,
got the
I
breakdown?
just broke it apart between employees and
Thank-
retirees.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else on 1176?
No.
We've got the three, right? The vacations.
The vacations. Low hut, 60/20. And you just put everything under general road repair. And crew leaders. You added crew leaders back. Explain that. How many crew leaders do you have?
We see a. crew leader.
We have two.
You put 60,000. What is that? for?
Now wait a minute.
60,000 for professional services.
It's under LOA administration.
Under crew leaders on the 60/20.
We had it in 2023, it was, and it must have been moved to something else last year. And it's back in, it was 87 and now it's 60.
I can explain that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That's .01, right? Professional services, 60,000.
Mhm.
That's for Pacer ratings. Has to be done every 2 years.
I know that's under crew leaders.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
My sheet, it shows under professional
So we
services.
put it, is that your 3,001?
Mhm.
Yes, for Pacer ratings,
So you don't have anything under 1,001, it should have been under 3,000.
So professional services, so it was just in the wrong line. Okay, the crew leaders,
They were taken
60,000
out.
should be under professional services. It was just in the wrong line, same amount.
Yep.
Okay. And the general road repair, you went from 22,300,000 to 2,220,000, so that actually went down.
based on what we could generate.
Based on that, okay. Any questions? Betsy, Kyle, we're good? Questions?
Thank you both very much.
Sure. Excellent. preparation, excellent
Appreciate it.
information that you share.
Good information.
After I got this, it was easy.
That helps.
I used I used Baker Tilly's income
Think
for
of
each
money.
year.
It's kind of our.
Yeah,
second
I mean,
line.
it's right there.
It's an
yeah.
addendum to our Bible. You have it. You have it.
It's
Yeah.
just nice
It's
to,
just,
yeah.
it's nice to have it
You're
on
right,
one
we already
page.
have it in the bigger report.
And have to go through this, and.
I can go through and do that. I mean.
And until we start adding things up, it's not as
Yeah.
important, but it came to my mind, so I asked.
Yeah, it came to my mind last night. I thought I sent a text out, but I'm not sure I pressed send. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I think we've seen some improvement in the roads. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. I
So
did.
how
Complaints
many
about roads.
miles will be done with the, company that you're having come in and?
Chip seal, isn't it up close to 40?
For what?
Chip seal?
What we're doing this year?
Yeah.
Miles?
Yeah, it's just under 40. Yeah,
We're-
People
some of
will see
those,
that.
some of those will be triple seals, some are double seals.
Saw your map.
Triple
Yeah.
seals, it costs a little more.
And how many miles of highway, or how many miles of road do we have in our county again?
780 is the new, was 777. Did
700.
you add Ron Amp, whatever?
We
line?
added
There's been a couple added.
So just under 800,000.
we added the economic development there south of town. That was never, those roads were never added.
We got the 3 miles that were added.
Well, that and one little subdivision I added.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
We got a break. And who's that, EMA or EMS?
So can someone tell me?
Yes, please, please.
What funds, a longer one yet, what funds are EMA? Because when I was, last night I was thinking.
1152 and 361 is on page 32.
Okay, I got 1152.
1158.
And then what's the other one?
That's it. I thought EMS was coming, but maybe not.
Just, just 1152 is EMA?
And 361 emergency management.
Yeah, we mentioned. that.
Okay, those are the two. Okay.
I asked you guys, well, where the park was, I didn't print it up.
So what's your lunch meeting today, Kenan?
It was canceled.
Oh, look at
Yeah.
that.
I don't remember what it was. I know the one tomorrow was canceled. It was the executive committee of EDC. I got I
Should
don't have my
we-
phone. I don't know.
Should we see if Ryan can come at 2? And just extend our lunch, or does he? We already talked to him once. I don't care either way, but. I don't have his.
For
contact
which one?
information. Well, he's coming 911 at 1:30, but.
Yeah,
if he
because I
came
think
at 2,
probation and prosecutor may take a little longer. Maybe,
It doesn't matter.
or circuit court. I think circuit court will.
You've been listening, you know we haven't done that. Some of them.
Well, wages or-
Change back and forth to different.
Yeah.
We
departments.
saw,
Some of them
we saw
were over
that.
9.
They were, yeah, they were 9 something.
I kind of look,
She noted it.
I kind of look at it and go, doesn't matter, we're gonna change. I know, we don't.
Why do I have a note that EMS was coming along with EMA? Is that a,
You had it in your email that you sent, and actually, I called Randy yesterday and said, oh, we're coming, and you haven't.
She said no.
He said, no, I'm not going until next week.
when,
And then I went and looked, and it was EMA, not EMS.
so when, I don't have EMS down for next week. When is it?
That was an updated one. She's going. I don't remember what.
I didn't write it in.
10:45.
So it's on the new one. Okay. 10:45. Later.
second thoughts about this whole process.
Oh, wait for a January, buddy.
Have another cookie.
I got about halfway through our first or second job classification meeting and was like, what the hell did I do to myself? Why do I want to fit this meeting? Hopefully we got things in decent shape moving forward. Some of the controversy we've had around what she's printing on right it was nuts, the budgets. I mean, there's dollars allocated for groups to pay for medical insurance with no logic or reasoning to why those dollars were over there.
I can speculate.
Yeah, we all need, so hopefully we'll bring a little more rhyme or reason to it here shortly.
I think we're definitely heading in that direction. I guess it falls under better late than never. Oh, is this why you just woke up?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, your printer does have funky lines.
Gonna need one of them there maintenance agreements on here.
That's what I just thinking.
You can't adjust it now. Yeah.
Did we just start talking about your budget, Debbie? Or did we,
We did.
we got through all of your
Yep,
budget?
pretty straightforward, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to verify that. That's what I recall.
Well, I'm hoping no one else up here recalls that. We don't know what the bottom line's gonna be yet.
What funds do you do in an owner for every department,
For what?
use cheat sheet in? The ones that make it so, you want every department to have on here.
Similar to this really helps.
Is that what she said about you?
Yeah. We had this the day before we started budget hearings last year. Then they did an update about 10 days later at the end of budget hearings, which was considerably different. I think I wrote those in last week. You said they were working on that?
He was working on it, but, they're also trying to work on getting my gateway stent ready, so I'll try and get it.
Okay,
Uh,
you can keep that as reference for now. Or take a screenshot or whatever you do. I turned it on because it's getting hot. We can turn it, or I can change it.
We'll be right here.
Move the thermostat. I think I moved it to 71.
Angela has 290,000 for health insurance right now. Is that what we did to her last year?
You guys did all of that.
Wow.
Correlated each department, or everybody still get a term of it, right?
We revised it again last year, but Shannon has calculated previous year actually.
That's
With all the ones that have their own funds, we did 22,500 per person plus one. Per person that's taking insurance.
22.5.
Yeah, that's what we tried to budget.
So it's not, so
It's-
countywide on.
Yeah, everybody else comes out of general, and they're all lumped into the commissioner's budget for the most part.
Now, and the retirees. Post 65 aren't a very big expense, though, right? It's
The yeah, and this includes the Humana and everything.
Humana is not, is it
I'll
still
show you
running
this.
about 180 a person or something?
I don't know.
kind of think I remember it was around $180 a person. It's under 200 back when I remember.
Okay, so this is, I think I know the answer to this stupid question, but highway retirees is just more because we've had more employees.
15.
Okay, I just wouldn't. Okay, all right.
The sheriff's office is pretty high too.
Yeah, okay, I would have
Sheriff has
expected that.
14,
Yeah.
highway has 50,
Okay.
so,
How many of those are post 65?
so good.
On the humanity. Because it's the ones that kill us is that 55 to 65 grand. Because they, one, they're in the highest bracket of medical expenses of anybody that age bracket, basically. And two, cost a lot of money. But the man is locked in, we have a guarantee rate. So we don't have to pay any more than that X.
This
I think it
is,
was like 100,
well, and
maybe about, not one, it's under $200 now. I don't remember what it is now, but you're just paying for Medicare.
this is what the ordinance.
Humana, yeah. And they pay half, if I remember right, so that makes about.
Numbers that I've used for.
Yeah.
That's the number that I'm using. So that's what, so maybe it's not that much. So I don't think we break down who is.
We know that the first 65.
I don't, I think what is giving the need. So I'm not separate. Anyway, just for budget.
When I used to get it from Ann, he had post 65, pre-65. Because there's a big difference.
I just have the health department at 2:30. We'll go over and make sure that's accurate.
It's like $200 per year. But the E65 are a lot because they're the guys that are already passed. So all those fun expensive things that everybody has in their 60s.
I think tomorrow we talk
Oh, you're so
raises.
rude.
We
But
just need to raises. We just need to
made a
decide if
comment.
we're gonna
Go ahead.
do that
I mean,
before and after the health department. We'll talk about that.
I would have had you leave under 55. Okay, I didn't. You do, for sure. I wouldn't think you, I would.
Yeah,
think
she
you
does.
disagree, maybe 55, I think it was Dave. God, you started early. No, I didn't know that, Bobby.
Yeah, so I don't distinguish.
Well, women are, actually, women are more expensive when they're young because they have babies. Men are more expensive in the 55 to 60 range. Yes, so, I mean, so I did for a living for a long time. So women are more expensive in their 20s and men are more expensive when you get to that 55 to 65.
You saying we need a different.
Boy, am I
rates
expensive.
For men and women, that's.
Well, I'll tell you, the actuaries do it that way.
Yeah,
The actuaries, because men are the ones that have heart attack, get cancer. But then after you hit 60, well, because we never go to the doctor. We just wait till we're about to die to go. Or we're in the ambulance on our way.
Been there, done that.
But after you hit 65, 67, things start slowing down because all of those other things have already reached out. So really, you get.
Talk rate, we want to do it all afternoon before and after the health department.
I didn't do it first thing in the morning, if there's nobody gonna be here.
I don't have anybody now. Do you have anybody on any list? I don't. Betsy asked, and I said, well, maybe we just all afternoon's been.
I hate to interrupt it in the middle.
First, ask him.
We were not.
First row with retirees and second. Separation.
This is. This is the two numbers.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
That's a good question. I haven't looked at it closely
Copied
yet.
it. This is just the total. This number was.
You just copied the total.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I was in your.
I get it. That's why.
Yep, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these are, they're as close as I can get it. And the retirees, this is all based on
We're talking about,
numbers minus
he'd like to
How
come
much
in the morning
employee
and
has
all
to
morning
pay
talk about raises.
times the code.
I said, well, I know there's gonna be
So
some, instead of wanting to come in the
employees, they
morning
have
and
to
having a
pay
gap
full
until
rate
10:30, let's just
and
spend
that's
the whole afternoon
calculated
on
by
raises before and after.
So I
the
use
health
the
department.
COBRA rate.
And just spend it half a day.
For Plan
instead
A,
of-
employee only.
Because there's big gaps in the
employee
afternoon.
spouse, employee check.
Because right now,
And that's what I used to calculate, it, trying to say. closest
right now,
we can
that's all we
get
have
For
tomorrow.
budgeting purposes, because like we budgeted.
We haven't heard from the public defender, but that's the only major department we've not heard. I'm guessing she's on vacation.
And like
So the
that
options
911's
are
at 160.
spend all
We budgeted
afternoon
them in at 205.
talking about raises. There's a lot to talk
And
about
they
with
were,
the voice report.
previous to that,
Can't
they
really
budgeted
specifically talk to this, but we can talk
And
general, what to do. with
Mark was
raises
being
and-
budgeted at
So the health department
$250,000.
probably comes now.
And we were all, it's too much. So it's not their
we go
budget.
forward.
And if we do it just employees and not retirees, we didn't take retirees into account. So it sounds like we have been.
Or we could even come in at
I asked why. I come up with part B for 200 and
out of your probably.
It makes no sense. Everybody said the same thing.
We have an option tomorrow. The only one we have, somebody has an item in the health department, they will probably take an hour. The options are,
They just moved it around.
Senate, when they come in the morning and talk about pages, but I think if we came out at 11 to 3:30,
Yeah, for sure.
all but an hour,
We're just trying to be more
we can take a
more
lunch break.
accurate.
Do an hour of raises, and we got an hour here of raises, and
So hopefully we can get a little
we'll be
closer.
out of here. after
I'm
the
not
health
saying
department.
that's the exact number. We
I don't
should
think we
budget,
need more than 2
but
hours to
it's
talk about.
closer.
It's a
A lot
philosophy, and you
closer
can't
to-
talk
Will that make
specifically
everybody
about
feel
this report.
Yeah.
The numbers.
And I'm
We need to
happy
talk
sure.
about those pictures.
Well, this is really gonna help
It
you.
gets real.
Yeah, it's budgeted.
Plus everybody wants to
Last year,
see some.
290,000.
And I just,
More expensive.
Here, you can write those
no,
on.
no, I can get back over. I just wonder what the two columns of
Yeah.
retirees was. Because I was thinking, well, they have.
When we come out from break, we'll talk about how to do calendar.
Yeah.
Do a better ad.
Yep,
Good with
yep, you
whatever.
did.
Okay.
That gets us a lot closer to
4.1 million for health insurance.
Susan, that's based on, that, I'm not saying that's our actual cost.
Okay, what are you saying?
I'm saying that is, that if every employee had to pay their amount of COBRA,
Okay.
that's what it would be. Because our COBRA rate is actually a combined rate of differences between Plan A and B. So we have one COBRA rate
For the whole.
for everything, yes. And so
So this is not.
it's not an accurate, it's as accurate as we can get based on if quantity of employees is correct and whether they're employee only, employee spouse, employee children or family is correct. And then I subtracted what they have to pay as an employee's portion
Hey, come on up.
and from
Yeah.
the COBRA amount,
We will be.
and that's the.
It's not worth sitting back there and
so
2 minutes later
that's-
coming back.
How
up.
you doing?
Good.
Yes,
So it's still out.
it's still averaging, but it's a whole hell of a lot closer.
Got a full crew in here.
Number of quantity, yes.
Soon we're done.
Well, the 22.5 was hot, and the 30 those are. Yeah.
I have new meetings, but I still.
So if we look at hers, here's the most.
I do have.
Most of the part of it.
I always forget. We usually put an hour, we usually put 75 minutes.
So you're ahead of schedule? You're ahead of schedule? That's good.
Very,
Yeah.
probably change this afternoon. There's some biggies this afternoon, back to back to back to back.
It'll slow down for sure.
Susan up here, we'll start with
Hello.
Oh, there you are. Okay, we're going to reconvene. EMA is 40, nope. We said that 361 is the first one.
Yes.
Page 32 in the general fund. Give us a, or give me chance to get organized.
Yes, the code was read first. Yes.
Okay, council, we're on page 32 of 39 of the actual general fund, which is in numerical order. Emergency management, Tim Welch, thank you. We're gonna miss you. I know,
Yes,
hard
I will
work.
miss you guys. It's been great working with you guys, honestly.
First time I've heard that. 42 years. Anyway, what do you have for us, Tim? We're looking at the 361 Emergency Management Fund.
Sure. I went with the 4% on the salary like you had recommended or requested.
Right.
So that's 4%. And the other increase I did was under other services and charges, meeting and training was my request, was for, to increase the meetings and training to 6,500. And my rationale for increasing that was just simply because, and I think I increased fuel too, but was because I've been using a grant. I've been nickel and diming that down, so it's offset my meetings and training expense, but it will be gone shortly. So that's why I asked for an increase there.
Any questions? That's about as straightforward as it gets.
Can you really briefly remind me of the grant situation, details?
Okay, well, there's two, and you might be talking about the EMP grant. So let me talk about the grant I've been using for training first. So there was a grant, the auditor's office helped me work through. It was for training ground and training materials. So that's what I've been using for meetings and training, and also balancing that with the budgeted amount. I don't know what the remaining balance is on that. I think it's somewhere around 4,000 perhaps, or less.
Number of the fund.
91, but anyway, it's a grant that will probably run out before the end of next year. It's, it doesn't renew. It's been sitting for quite some time, so we were lucky to have that to use. The other grant, was that answer your question for that one?
I was thinking of the.
Salary grant.
Okay, I just wanted to. I
That's
don't
why
re-
we
I don't
increased it. You
remember
said
the
you got
Yes.
40% reimbursement or something.
So the salary grant is a 50% reimbursement to a certain amount, and Henry County fulfills the obligation up to 25,000 was what they'll pay. So if the salary went to 50,000, they'd cover 25. That makes sense? EMA. And that could be, it's for the total salary. So where I have the 41,600 for the total wages, it pays half of that.
The person, I saw that Stephanie posted a
Mhm.
job opening for director. I don't recall, is it being posted for roughly the same salary and hours that what you're doing now?
Yes.
And with the
It's still
prospect of
part-time.
getting 50% reimbursement from the state?
It will be whoever is in that position has certain obligations through trainings that they have to do and certifications. So as long as which there's several people that already have those accommodations. So as long as he fits that bill or that person fits the bill, then they'll recover that. And it's one of the requirements on the job description that they fulfill those obligations anyway.
So you don't foresee that going away?
Well, I hope not.
The grant?
The information I just received is not going away this year. So,
So
and it's been here for a long time.
Okay, so it's got a good history,
Yes.
track record, okay. Other questions, council?
So we're budgeting 41,600 hypothetically.
Use your mic.
50% of it, what'd you say?
You need to use your mic.
It keeps switching off on me, thanks.
Yeah, that tape.
So we have 40 in the budget right now, and we're getting 50% of that reimbursed, where does the reimbursement come back into general? In the general fund, okay. Okay, thank you.
Any questions, council, on the 361? The other one is 1152. I think it's back there near where the highway ones were before the health.
That's the LAPC fund.
Yes, public safety, right.
1152,
Mhm.
is that what you're looking at? Okay.
Same as last year.
Same as last year.
Yeah, so if you, I'm sure you don't recall, but this is this budgeted amount is all returned from state payment. And so there was a few years where there was no return, but the balance remained the same because there were no expenses. So when I took over, we reactivated the local emergency planning committee. And if you follow all their steps and you do everything appropriately, then you have a recovery, you have money that's recovered each year. And we actually just received, do you remember how much that was? Over $5,000 return. So it goes into the total budget amount, which would push it up to well, whatever this balance is left. But when this runs out, then there's no more LAPC funds. So if I don't, whoever's doing this doesn't follow the local emergency planning guidelines, and they won't continue to they won't recoup that money. As long as you stay under the amount that you recoup each year, then it should never fall into any funding other than the self-sustaining of itself. Okay, so we just added 5,000 or something to it.
Okay.
Yeah, this isn't, this is all LAPC funds, so it's not that's why I left it the same, because ultimately, if I had to come to you and ask to move over to $10,000 response equipment, it would still be the LAPC funding.
Okay, and as of July 1, you'd used only 30% of that budget. So
Yes,
it must be ample.
I try not to deal with that too much, considering if there were ever a big emergency, we'd spend a lot of money.
As Susan said, it's the exact same ask every account. Questions?
That's an easy one.
They're both easy. Yeah, thanks for coming in early. Anything for him? We thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you
I know
guys.
the amount of planning you did for the great eclipse turned out not to be, but it's better. to
We're
be-
gonna forget that ever happened.
It's better to be prepared and not need it.
Yes, thank you
than
for
to be
that.
prepared and wish that heavens we had needed it.
Yeah. And you guys' support was great on that, so thank you, all you guys. So, and everything's been, I put a letter when I submitted my resignation, and I was very thankful for working with everyone. It's been fantastic. So I'll miss working this position for sure. It's been rewarding. So,
I took the tables and chairs back from the back to school. Saw
Yes.
what's been done at the training facility, the new buildings. The trailers inside the new buildings.
yep,
I would say huge improvements in the last few years. I know
Yeah.
you planning with some others are largely responsible for those improvements, but
sure.
we've probably gone from being way below average to above average. I mean, that facility has improved remarkably from the
Yep.
last time I visited out there.
It's a work in progress, but if we can just finish each task each time, then it'll continue to be better. But it'll never have a stalemate for sure.
Great progress had been made, and a lot of that had to do with your leadership. So thank you. Wish you well
Yeah.
in Newcastle schools. I guess you're going to be in the Career Center teaching what?
Fire rescue program.
How appropriate.
Yeah,
Good
it's their
program.
first year, and I'm pretty excited about it. So,
And Mr. Showalter,
Don,
Don, what does he teach?
criminal justice.
Criminal justice. And we've got an EMS training.
Yes, and it's a new person. I don't know her name.
Yeah, I haven't met her yet. but
No.
Those three, I have hope that a fairly nice percentage of those that are trained will stay in Henry County.
I hope so.
Castle, Henry
I hope
County.
so.
Because staffing's a problem in public safety.
It is.
Uh,
So
but
we'll
good
cross
luck.
our fingers. So,
Good luck.
do you have any advice for taking care of high school students? Any advice for dealing with high school students then?
You're heading into baptism by fire.
Okay.
But
You can
those that go
start-
into Career Center are well motivated to explore a career for their future.
That's what I'm
I
hoping.
don't think you'll have discipline problems.
Yeah.
You can start trying to convince them to let homeschoolers use the Career Center. And I
Yeah.
can send some kids.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I'll have to ask.
A lot of us want to.
Good. Okay.
Ask Mackenzie Jackson. They may be open to that. I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, thank you. You have any other questions then?
Anybody?
Thank you.
These
so much.
these are the treats to go if you do a good
Yes,
job.
Please take one. Yeah, you don't get a plaque, but you can have a raisin oatmeal cookie.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.
We'll
Um,
revisit them, but yeah, at least we initially did them, right?
Yeah, his was straightforward. Council, we got a question about tomorrow. We've got a couple of options. I've talked to, I think, most of you except Kyle. I don't think I saw during the break, but we only have Health Department at 2:30. We need 2.5 hours to talk about raises and some of the things that came up today, including the chart probably that to deal with insurance and COBRA and all that stuff.
While you mention that chart, the far right column should read total, not retirees. I copied a column and changed the calculations, didn't change the header. So that is
think
the
it's-
total of the two columns previous.
It does look like it is the total.
Yeah. I was
Well-
trying to do it quick and didn't double check my work.
Well, it looks like highway and sheriff as the largest, and then clerk and probation, the second tier. So what about tomorrow? Okay,
So do I, and I believe we've advertised for a early start.
you did.
So
Yeah, that's
I think
advertised.
we have to be here. So I would suggest we tackle the discussions about
I don't think we
wages and
have to be here,
salaries
but
to be able to present questions to Addie on Monday.
my suggestion would have been that we meet at 11, take a break maybe between, I don't know, 11 and 12, and then spend all afternoon except the health department to talk about nothing but raises. I just don't see it. I don't think we have.
Do we have to be here since we advertised?
According to, well, my conversation with Joel, you don't. He said even Friday, we didn't have to officially cancel it. We just, people show we're not here. Yeah.
As long as we're
He
not
said-
violating anything, I don't care.
I don't care. What's our list? We have the group health breakdown.
Yep.
That discussion and deciding where we're gonna put liability insurance. Doesn't really do us any good to go over the safety and jail it till after we do the sheriff's budget probably, since
Right,
we already
that's the
looked
last
at it.
day. I just think between 11 and 3:30 or 4, we can discuss
Oh, I
everything.
I don't see any reason to take an hour lunch.
We don't. We could be
Let's
done
just
with the health
come and
department.
stay. Well, or, yeah, I mean.
Eat-
we
eat
can
brunch
all-
before
we
you
can
come?
All eat before we come.
Want me to bring
and then-
cookies for anybody that gets, diabetic, whatever?
Isn't that what makes you diabetic?
I'm not diabetic.
Not you, just people in general, sugar.
Well, their
I'm
sugars
just
do ebb and flow.
Giving you a hard time.
I'm used to it. You're saying 11 and just come to 11, forget about lunch. I'll bring more cookies if anybody gets and if somebody else wants to bring, I know Betsy's all the time volunteering
Let's see what's
pizza,
the fetus pizza.
as long as we chip in
Yeah.
and be done after health department, 11 through health department. That gives us over probably 2.5 hours. No, no.
Moving start time to
Our
11
start
o'clock.
time at 11.
say we
And we should be
do
done after health department. If we're not,
11.
we have a half hour afterwards if we really aren't done with the discussion, but I think we should be.
11 through when we're done.
Look at your
Bring us a-
text. I'll
bring us down.
contact Joel to make sure, but that's kind of what he's
Okay.
talking about canceling Friday. He said canceling things is not a big deal, like unless it's a public hearing. It's a big deal on a public hearing. And it will be in the paper tomorrow about canceling, according to Travis. It'll be in tomorrow's. And you put it on the courthouse doors, I think. You put it on the courthouse doors too, don't you, the cancellation? That going on?
I just marked it canceled on your little piece of paper.
Okay, that does it.
So you're not coming until 11 tomorrow?
Yeah. No lunch.
Is that all right with you guys? Yeah, I guess we didn't think about asking you about lunch.
Okay.
Sorry.
We'll just have to alternate lunches.
Is that
And-
okay, or?
Then we do the health department and we're done, or we may have a few postscript things to talk about after health, but we should be out here by 3:30 either way.
So you're gonna talk about raises instead of your.
We are.
Let's talk about in
We're-
generality.
Yeah.
More focused on questions you had.
We'll cover this and some of the other notes we put on the sidebar today, we may want to bring, because it affects raises probably general fund.
And did you guys were gonna do a report of how much payroll would increase with what was in here, so we could subtract it out and see from each fund what was elevated.
Yeah, I'll have to go. Because we'll have to go through every single line item. There's no report we will have.
Oh, there's not a report.
Well, it won't be able to, I'll have to get one more, because there's, I have to do every single line in that much. There's no report I can run through, yes.
I did some of them as I went, but not a lot.
Because you can't just go by, line. So it would be a matter of
Okay.
line by line. So it'll take you all morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we need it by tomorrow, but we'll need it in order to finish. So
We'll need it by next.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah. And Debbie is working on what we usually use for Baker Tilly, that we get from Baker Tilly that helps us where we're at, our current balance and what we're projecting as a starting point, and we'll update that near the end of our budget session to know where we're at overall. We want to do lunch, want to do Elks, they open at 11,
Gonna run errands, is that right?
usually do during that time.
Sometimes I
Anybody
enjoy
up for the
those,
Elks or
but-
got other plans? You're welcome to join Elks if you're welcome.
So are we coming
I'm concerned about us. Are we allowed to do that legally? Go ahead, lunch together.
just not supposed to talk about the
We
budget?
actually just lunch.
So we're coming back at 1:30. Is that what we're saying? I'm gonna have all
Hey,
kinds
can
of
we-
fun to buy my vitamins.
Who we have, 911? Can we get Brian here a little early?